Hey everyone, thanks for watching this Advancement Live segment. After each show on Tuesday, the last Tuesday of every month, I'm going to try to chop up the clips into different segments and make them a little more digestible. Do give me an email or follow me on Twitter, send me a tweet, let me know what you think about these new clip segments. Would love to keep providing for them if they make sense and if you feel as though they're more digestible. Would love your feedback. I'd also like to reintroduce our sponsors and do that by way of sharing, of course, their logos. And the first of our sponsors is iModules, and iModules software is the leading constituent engagement management provider for educational institutions. iModules delivers an integrated online platform that transforms how institutions strengthen constituent relationships and achieve fundraising success. Advancement Live is also brought to you by M. Stoner. Higher Ed Live is produced by M. Stoner. It's a marketing and communications firm that works with educational institutions on branding, strategy, web design, and more. In June, M. Stoner is hosting an in-depth two-part webinar series focused on brand strategy. And you can click on the link below in this post to find that registration link. So I hope you enjoyed this clip from my recent show about donor relations and stewardship. I had the privilege of interviewing a couple of my colleagues here from the University of Virginia. Enjoy the show and do let me know what you think. I appreciate your feedback. In the course of our planning for the show, I learned a ton about donor relations and stewardship. These folks are part of a hardworking team here in University Advancement and do some amazing stuff. Kenna is the Associate Director of Donor Relations at the University of Virginia, where she is responsible for stewardship of the university's major donors, alumni, parents, and friends through cultivation, recognition, and engagement events. In addition to managing the Office of University Advancement Events Program, she is responsible for the coordination and compilation of the presidential event proposal and schedule, which is what we're going to talk about first. Kenna, how are you today?
I'm good, thanks.
Thanks for being on the show. I appreciate it. I owe you a cup of coffee, both you and Heidi, for being on the program today. Excited to have you. And the first question in our segment has to do with your work with the President of the University, President Teresa Sullivan. Can you talk a little bit about our events involving the President and your part as part of that donor relations strategy?
Sure, absolutely. I'll start with the fact that really our presidential work is our core component. We build around it. So we, in the past, have always looked at the markets where we have a high number of alumni, parents, and friends, where we feel we need to engage those groups, where we have opportunity for development. And then we work with the President's office by putting forward a proposal, asking for her time, outlining why she should go, where she should go, and what we're trying to accomplish. So that's always worked really well. And since President Sullivan's been here, I think we've shown her that we have a great respect for her time. We've prepared her well. We've always given her an audience that is very much ready to hear from her. So what she's done in the last year and a half is she's actually turned over her calendar to us through her staff, and she showed us where she's going for conferences, or if she's on a board and she needs to go sit through a meeting. So we're not only now able to put forward markets where we need her, we're actually able to take advantage of the time that she's on the road, which is a significant amount of time. So that's been a change in strategy that we've really taken advantage of.
Yeah, and you guys do a tremendous job preparing the President, and she's on the road often. How do you guys prepare the President for her events? And you know, the idea behind her presence at these locations is very data-driven, both qualitatively and quantitatively. Can you share a little bit about how you kind of look into the data and are able to decipher a strategy?
Sure, absolutely. So it starts with the beginning, where we prepare a proposal that we put forward to her and her office, and we're really wanting to show her the meat of the material. So we're telling her why we want to be in a certain place, what's the objective, what's our strategy. We're also showing her numbers, the number of alumni in that territory, and it looks like, Ryan, you're showing our proposal here. So basically we outline if we have a specific venue or a host that wants to do the event. But the most important thing, I think, is that grid where we show her in a certain city, and this is Charlotte as an example, how many people are in that market that are alumni, parents, and friends, how many are total donors, how many are 100K plus donors, and then our rating system. And that really helps us I guess, make a point as to why we need to be in that place. So that's kind of the beginning process. But once we have a calendar set and we're out on the road and we're taking her into the city, we make sure she comes with a briefing book. And we do that probably about a week in advance. And we'll give her briefing materials that have an event summary that kind of tells her where to be, when to be there, remind her of what our objective is. But we also include our guest list, which is our accepts document. And we include everything from the guests' school year, their title, their job title, the business they work for, their level of giving up to that point, their rating level, and then we also include some really detailed prospect bio notes that our prospect research department will produce, typically for a certain giving criteria, so no more than 10 or 15, but that includes information about their children and their family, and it also has things like if their child didn't get admitted into UVA, she needs to know that before she walks in a room. So what we've been able to show her is that we're prepared and that we're preparing her so she never walks into a room surprised.
Yeah, and so the idea is she has this level of preparedness, even a study guide, if you will, right? And it's the best sort of information we have about our donors. What is your sort of take, or what is your understanding as the objectives for her presence during the course of those events? So she's got those folks that she wants to meet with. Is that sort of, does she try to touch all those folks?
So we have kind of a 2 or 3 prong approach. It depends on the city and the number of people there. But really her objective is it's the face. It's the face, it's the name. We've taken many faculty members out. We take our provosts, we take some of the deans will travel. But at the end of the day, the president is the one who is the face of the university, and that's where we see the biggest return on investment. You have higher attendance rates, you have higher show rates, so that's where we know that we get a huge return. And so the number one objective is to put her forward. Number 2 is to put her voice behind the initiatives that we've outlined. So if we're fundraising for scholarships or we're fundraising for the Rotunda, for example, having her talk about why that's a priority, that's golden. That's what we need her to do with that audience. The other thing that we do to use her time wisely in market, if we have a principal prospect or a high-level donor prospect, we'll actually set up some time with her to individually meet with that person. It helps us to be strategic in using her time, but also to get her face time with those individual donors.
Yeah, and at your individual events, particularly the ones involving the president, you do have some of our highest level donors, the folks who are the real movers and shakers in our donor community and in general. Mm-hmm. And so in some respects, your work does intersect with the principal relationship managers in development. Is that sort of a fair statement? And how do you work alongside those frontline fundraisers?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something I've seen shifting the most over the last couple years, and more so in the last year. We are intersecting with our principal relationship development officers. The way we manage our group, both Heidi and I both with donor relations, is we look at it from a very client service perspective. We feel that our development officers that we work with are our client as well as our donors and alumni. So we really come to the table with the objective of what are we all trying to accomplish as a team. So in particular with our principal relationship program, over the last couple years, I've been given the opportunity to work with our top, I would say 2 to 5%. So about 5 or 6 donors that we've been able to sit down with them and outline what is it that they're trying to accomplish with their financial and their philanthropic dollars. And then we look at the programs and we try to customize things for them. So whether they be events or if they'd like to set up particular meetings with faculty, learn more about how they can have more of an impact, we try to navigate that for them. So we're really trying to enrich that relationship with the university and give it some depth versus just a transactional relationship. So it's ongoing. And at this point, I have probably 5 or 6 individuals that I've worked with, and their programs are recurring over the last couple years, and they kind of evolve as their needs evolve. One of them is kind of starting to peter out. It's appropriate. It's where we need to be right now. Whereas the other one is really ramping up because I think this donor has seen what value we are adding to the dollars that they're putting in.
That's great. And in our pre-show discussion, Kenna, we talked a little bit about the idea of how your work is customized in this respect, mm-hmm. with the needs, the priorities of the donor. You feel this is such an accurate statement as far as how it's important and from what perhaps other institutions are doing in their donor relations department? Is this new space within donor relations?
You know, it's new space for me as well as conversationally. I mean, I've put a lot of feelers out just to ask other universities, what are you doing? Is this, I mean, because it is new territory and you have to walk a fine line between catering too much because you don't want to not deliver. It's not about not being overly accessible. I want to be accessible. I want our team to be accessible and to be helpful, but we also have to manage expectations. There's only so much 2 or 3 people can do as a unit as well as doing all of your other work. So that's the balance I've been trying to find in this new territory, is carving out time to do this customized relationship work, because I firmly believe we're seeing our biggest return on investment with this customized work, but also balancing it with the fact that we do 70 plus, sometimes 100 events a year with massive amount of donors, alumni, parents, and friends. You have to find a balance between the two. So that's where I feel like I am looking for those other universities that are doing this. And I'm not seeing a lot, but I would love to learn more.
Yeah, and hopefully some folks who get a chance to watch this rebroadcast or who are watching live can chime in with some of their thoughts on donor relations strategy.